But now that I see these new products that are slightly different than what I have, I kind of want them. If there's one thing that's important for your clarinet, it's taking good care of it. And one of the things that is an oftentimes overlooked component to that is where do you put it when you're not playing it and you still want to leave it assembled? Historically speaking, there's been one company, one stand that surpasses all in terms of quality of the product as well as how it functions. And that is the Blayman music stand. So for the saxophonists out there, we got nothing for you here, unless you're a doubler, and we got a lot for you. The company has existed for how long?
Over 50 years.
Your instrument has the least chance of ever being knocked over with these stands. They're very heavy and durable and wonderful. They are primarily used at home, which is a wonderful place to have your instrument where you cannot knock it over, even in your worst moment. Your child can't knock it over, all sorts of things like that. But also there are, if not the only stand used on Broadway pits, primarily I would say 95% of the people playing clarinet, flute, bass clarinet have a Blayman stand. Fortunately, I happen to be friends with the person that runs the Blayman company and now makes their stands. They were out of business for a while. I was kind of not aware of that because I have a number of Blayman basses and pegs, and they are such a good investment. They don't wear out, which is an amazing thing and a really wonderful investment that I've been using for years. I still have the basses and the pegs that I bought in 1999. Right. And I quite honestly don't need any more. But now that I see these new products that are slightly different than what I have, I kind of want them. Thankfully, I'm here with my friend, Julie Pachaco.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's so great to talk to you about this.
All these stands here. Tell us, what instruments do you make stands for?
We make stands for flute and alto flute and piccolo and bass flute. And then in the clarinet family, we do B flat clarinet, A clarinet, E flat clarinet, and bass clarinet. Also, sometimes like contralto and contrabass can also fit in the bass clarinet stand.
Yeah.
And then oboe and English horn. One
of the things that is wonderful about the way these products work is you have a bass that you can buy different size basses, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to show you all those in just a second, but you can have multiple different pegs going in different places and they're customizable. If you are a doubler and you play different shows on different instruments, you can arrange it. If you're playing clarinet and piccolo, great. Flute, clarinet, flute, piccolo, you can arrange it all alto flute. You can have it all in the same bass. You can have it on two different basses. You can move them however you want to, which is a wonderful feature. And one that I've used a lot in my life. And I'm always grateful when I go to work for somebody else on Broadway and they've got a Blayman stand.
It's nice when they're there.
Yeah, it's a great way to live. Let's talk about, if you would, the different basses that are available.
Sure. So we have 3 different basses. We have the square ones, which are 5x5. And all of our basses come in black or blue. So this is one of the blue ones.
Is that the blue is a new thing, right?
Blue's a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started running the company in 2020, when we were redesigning things, we decided to powder coat the basses. So they used to be painted in the past, and now there's this really durable powder coat finish, which meant we could very easily do different colors. So we have this nice Blayman blue. And the logo is lightly engraved in the powder coat. It doesn't go through to the metal.
And I just learned this. This is her Blayman signature. I was unaware of that up until just...
It's a great signature.
Yeah.
So this is our 5x5 bass. It's the smallest one. And then we also have the 5x8 bass, this rectangular one. I'll take these off. And again, these come in black or blue. And so the small bass, the 5x5, is roughly 3.5 pounds. And this one is roughly 4.5 pounds.
Right. So we were talking earlier. One of the features that is not really present is mobility. Right. So this isn't a stand that you'd put in your clarinet case and go to work.
Yes.
Right. You could.
If you have a backpack, it might start to make sense.
But from a size standpoint, you absolutely can.
Yes.
But from how much your shoulder is going to hurt when you're done.
How much are you carrying? Especially for doublers when we're carrying a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
It's not practical to carry these around.
For anyone that doesn't know, Julie is one of New York's finest doublers, working on Broadway all the time. Am I allowed to plug your shows?
Sure.
Julie is currently in...
Kimberly Akimbo.
which I don't know how much about, but she is also going to be featured. I'm going to say featured because if you're the only woodwind player, you are by nature featured in the upcoming version of
the Notebook.
Yes.
And then we have, this is our 8-inch circular bass. This is kind of like a retro callback. Originally, the 8-inch basses were round, and then for a number of years, they were octagonal. So probably most people who have them now have the octagonal ones.
That's what I have.
And so now we've gone back to the circular one. So again, available in black and blue and powder coated with the logo.
Right. And so
we should talk about what they hold.
Yes.
So the smaller bass, the square one, holds up to 2 instruments. So you can either put 1 instrument in the center or 2 on the sides.
Right.
It's too close together hole wise for there to be 3 instruments across.
Right. I have one of these. I used one of these at the Producers for years.
Great.
For B flat and E flat clarinet.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always did wonder, like, being somebody who would never conceive of having 1 instrument on the stand, like why are there 3 holes? What's this 3rd hole for?
Right.
Couldn't figure that out.
But one in the center works really well.
Yeah, it does. And if you're at home and you only got 1 clarinet,
it's perfect.
Put it right in the middle.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, you could also put it on the side. It doesn't matter. These are so heavy. The balance of it is irrelevant, right? Yeah. And so that's a real thing.
Yeah. So those hold up to 2, and then these hold up to 3. The middle size, the 5x8.
Right.
And then these hold up to 5.
Right.
But you're going to want to be kind of careful about how you arrange things so that the one in the center, like a piccolo in the center where it's up really high, is good, as opposed to a smaller instrument in the center might be a little difficult to get to.
Right.
Or you could just put 1 in the center and have a very, very stable bass.
Because it would be very silly if you had 4 piccolos and then put a clarinet in the middle.
That would be difficult.
It would be beautiful, but it would be difficult.
It would be beautiful.
Right? Okay. Let's talk, because this is probably the nerdiest thing in the entire world. But the Blayman bass clarinet stand, I've never owned one.
Oh, really?
No, I've never had one.
Okay.
I always use the bassoon which just have the long legs that go out. It takes up a lot of space.
Oh, okay. Like a tripod one.
Yeah.
Yes.
This does not take up. Well, and the tripod one it's not that stable.
Right. And also people can trip on the legs, so then that gives more opportunity for it to tip over.
And if you're in a pit, that amount of real estate is a big deal.
I've been in pits where before I had a Blayman stand, it was very difficult to manage the space with a tripod stand. It kind of didn't work.
Since I've never had one of these myself, I'm interested if you could just tell us the differences between this and the old version
of the Blayman one. Yeah. So we changed the footprint just very slightly to increase the stability. And I can show you that more later.
For sure.
We changed the cup that the instrument sits in, like the cushion that it sits in, so that it's easier to put it in and it's more durable. The old one had a piece of foam that would wear out really quickly, so this one will last you forever. We also made, the biggest change we made that was most important is that it's completely non-rotational. So on the old stands, when certain tightening mechanisms would wear out, the stand can actually swing to the side and dump out your instrument, which should never be happening with any kind of stand. So everything is non-rotational. There's 2 different places where we have non-rotational parts so that the whole upright will never swing to the side. And then at the top, we also made sure that the entire yoke that your instrument sits on is completely padded. The old one had 2 pieces of padding, but there would be like a bare metal at the back where your instrument would sit, which is like where you need there to be padding. So it's completely padded all the way around. Those are some of the main things.
Well, when I'm hearing about this, one of the things that makes me feel like super happy is for someone to be as into what's important about a music, an instrument stand, as they are about playing the instruments themselves. Because the rest of us, maybe speaking just for me, I need someone to be that into it because I'm never going to make anything like that.
I never thought I would, but yeah. I mean, when my husband and I were redesigning everything, it always came back to, would I want to use the stand?
Well, but even the whole idea of it being rotational, like that would never dawn on me in a million years, right? I mean, like that's the kind of thing. It takes a different brain, which whether you want to have it or not, you do in terms of like, okay, like I wanted to do this thing. Right. What are the components of this that make that happen?
Well, we also surveyed a whole bunch of players in New York and other places too about what do you like about Blayman stands and what do you not like about them? And particularly the bass clarinet stand, we got a lot of feedback from people in the Met Orchestra and other orchestras in town about, what issues have you had with your bass clarinet stand? And so we learned a lot that way. I wasn't aware of some of the issues before we started working on it.
I mean, it is a hyper-specific thing. So much of the time, I feel like the stands we use today are these, obviously, but like other stands that we use, focus on portability. Does it fit in the case? Like there's other things other than the care and the safety of your instrument, which in this situation is the primary thing. And that's what makes this like, it's like a different set of things that is valued. And that's what's so beautiful about all this. While we are sitting down, for anyone that's a doubler that plays a piccolo, there's been some changes to the piccolo peg. And I know this is a clarinet channel, so skip ahead if you don't want to hear about the piccolo peg, but this is cool. So let's check it out. Can you show us that?
Yeah, sure. So the piccolo peg, it's a piece of Delrin, and then it has an insert in the top. And the old ones, they didn't have this metal adapter. And so it would be Delrin threading on Delrin threading here, which gets kind of gummy, and they're really difficult to screw in and out, and they can break really easily just from the torque pressure of getting it out. So we put this metal adapter on, which makes it much easier to screw in and out. But also there's a cavity inside, so you can put it in upside down and then store it this way for travel. So that,
which is going to prevent it from being broken.
Or lost. People lose them all the time when they take them out. So it's a really nice feature to have.
For those of uninitiated, what the heck is Delrin?
Delrin. Oh, it's a plastic. Yeah. And I think Delrin's like the brand name of it. It's actually like acetal is the name of the plastic, I think.
You so casually use these.
I know a lot of things now that I didn't know before.
These insider words. I went into a pit the other day, maybe it was a few months ago. I can't remember. But they had a new Blayman stand. And I kind of lost my mind for just a second because I was so excited about a simple, beautiful, brilliant, effective change. And that is...
That's an old one, yeah.
This one. Yeah. That they have... I'm going to hold it over here. They've got white markers on them. You had this particular name for it, visibilities.
Inserts.
Okay, yeah. Right, inserts, yeah. And so, because what used to happen back in the day was that people would put whiteout or paint or tape so that you could see in the dark, which fixes one problem, but creates another problem because then you get whiteout on the inside of your instrument, which I wasn't that into.
Or the tape gets really dirty. So this is actually an old Blayman peg, and this was my solution to it. This is actually car pinstriping tape. So if you have an old Blayman peg and you want to make it more visible in a clean way, you can buy it very easily, and it's pretty cheap. And I just put markers here, but this is much more beautiful. And it'll never, this is pretty durable, but these will never work.
Well, the thing that's great, I don't know if it's completely visible, is that they're you said they're inserts. Like, so this is actually,
it's flush at the top.
Yeah. So it's not, your instrument's not going to be rubbing against it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Which is important.
Exactly.
And the other thing about these is that they're extraordinarily quiet. Right, when you put an instrument on them.
It's a new material. So this is hard rubber, and actually the hardness of it is pretty high. And this is called urethane, and it's the hardness factor, the way they measure it. It's a little bit lower, but also it's a softer material that's kinder to your instrument, and it's also a lot quieter when you go to put it down. Right. We can even, later maybe we'll show the difference between the sound of putting a clarinet down on two of them. So we made these white visibility markings, which are great for dark pits or dark performance spaces. They're also great. I just use it in my practice room. It's kind of nice to be able to see very easily where it is. So even in regular lighting settings, they're really great to have. But we know that not everyone wants to use pegs that have white markings. And so we still offer a completely black one. So you can buy pegs with either white inserts or black inserts. So if you want that classic black look and you want a really low profile look to your stand, that's available.
You're making replacements and things to help people that have an older version of the product, that to make sure that, in a very sort of generous way, they don't need to buy a new product. They can still use their old product. Yeah, which is
because they're great. They last forever.
Yeah, right. Which is fantastic. But
certain parts wear out.
Yeah.
So on the bass clarinet stand, we offer the foam cushion, which is shaped to fit in the circular area. And it comes with adhesive tape.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So it's really easy to put on. You just peel off the backing and stick it on.
Because I will speak from experience that these often
kind of disappear.
They disappear, or parts of them disappear, which I think is unavoidable based on the material.
It's a pretty soft material.
But then the whole thing will get stuck to your instrument because like a little rip will get in there, and then with the adhesive on the back, that's
yeah.
Did they used to have that adhesive, or were they just stuck in there?
No, that's just something I started doing. I think in the past they were glued on.
Okay.
Or you can buy some kind of double-sided tape.
I feel like a lot of people didn't do that. I feel like I've put my bass clarinet in a lot of old Blayman stands. Blayman stands that don't have anything.
Yeah, they don't have anything. Or I've seen them with lots of different varieties of things like sponges or other kinds of foam or paper towels. Like you see a lot of different things.
Right.
So it's nice to have something that just fits the space and cushions your instrument.
Right.
Yeah. And then for the top part, the yoke, we offer these because these paddings can wear out for people as well. So these go on the 2 yoke arms, and then there's this Velcro for the front, like a Velcro lock, which I guess probably some people don't have this part anymore.
There's a lot without that, right?
Without that, yeah. So you can buy these as a replacement as well.
We've known each other a little bit for quite a while. Like maybe,
yes.
Right. So I won't go into everything that Julie has ever done, because she would be embarrassed by that. When you think about somebody who's like a killer, like just does things, sees something, has a plan, does something incredible with it, this is it. This is the person that does this. So when I heard that she took over Blayman, I was like, God, it's an incredible thing that's happening in the world. So talk about the history of Blayman,
okay.
and your entrance into it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Herb Blayman, he founded the company in 1972. At the time, he was a clarinetist in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. And so he designed all the pegs and basses, and the pegs and basses are pretty much the same as when he designed them, just, little tweaks that we made recently. So he ran the company from 1972 until about 2002, when Dr. Beecham took it over and started running things. I think Herb was towards the end of his life and was having some health issues and couldn't really run the company. So Dr. Beecham did a great thing in keeping it available for the next generation of musicians. And then in 2019, I saw that the products had been unavailable. Actually, one of my friends was trying to buy a Piccolo peg, a Blayman Piccolo peg, and he was like, I can't find them anywhere. And I was like, let me see. So I got in touch with Dr. Beecham, and he was happy to have my husband and I start running the company because he wanted to continue having the products available for the next generation of musicians. It was really great to have that handoff and to know that the company was going to continue because everyone loves the products.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like as niche a product as you can possibly get.
Niche,
right.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of trying to figure out like how to do this thing that matters to us. But even the people that are playing, I think sometimes we lose track of how much it matters. Mm-hmm. I think people realize it does matter when you can't have this thing anymore. Yeah. This thing has been a part of our life. And it's
I was so sad at the thought that we could never get the products again when I found out that they weren't available. So it was really exciting to enter into it. So my husband and I took over in 2020, right when the pandemic was starting up. So that was kind of an interesting time. So it took a while for us to get things going because that was a rough time for product development, for talking to players. We did some product testing, but it was a little, I did some outside product testing with people during the pandemic. And then supply chains got all messy and production got messy. So it took a while to get going. But yeah, we also took that pandemic time to spend as much time as we wanted to really develop the products. Like we thought through every single element of the products that you could possibly think of. And it took a lot of time. So it was nice to have that time at home together to like talk everything out.
There was an amazing stillness to the pandemic. This YouTube channel started during the pandemic. There's a lot of, in a strange way, a lot of really great things happened during the pandemic. Like in sort of the quiet of it. Yeah, I would have never.
Yeah.
I didn't own a microphone, nor did I know how to use a computer at the beginning of the pandemic. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of things changed. So I think it's really beautiful, and something as kind of important and specific as this, grew out of that quiet time. Because up until the pandemic, I was just playing for a living, right? As were you, right?
Yeah.
And so to have that time to focus on something else, right? Making teaching, making a YouTube channel, doing the whole thing. I'm coming out of this. Is the pandemic over yet? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Mostly.
I feel like I know more people.
Life is kind of back to normal.
Right. I know more people that have had it recently than in the past year.
Sure.
But somehow or another, it doesn't feel scary anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully we're coming out of it and better off particularly in the instrument stand. The clarinet stand specifically. That's sitting on a new Blayman peg.
A new Blayman peg.
Right. So
here's what the new one sounds like.
Okay.
I mean, you can hear the table noise, but yeah.
Right. This is the old one.
And then the old one. It's like a clicky sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was really important to us for a couple of reasons. Number one, it means that your instrument is on a harder material. And the old ones aren't going to damage your instrument, but we just don't like to put our instruments down on harder materials. But the other thing is, if you're in a recording session, this is not what you want. You want that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Or even in a pit, in a quiet moment. I've heard lots of woodwind players put their instruments down. They're just kind of slamming it down and it makes a noise.
That reminds me of, what I think is true about a lot of the highest level equipment that we use is it matters a lot in certain situations.
Yes.
And then not at all in a lot of other situations. Yeah. But it's the situations that are really important that matters.
Yeah. And we were told when we were surveying people that the Blayman stands were preferable for recording sessions because they were so quiet. And we were like, well, let's make it even better. So now the new ones are really intended for best use in recording sessions.
Right. And can we take a look, just since we're a clarinet channel here?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the E flat peg.
Yeah, sure.
Let's take a look at the one that's set up for you. So
here, actually, let's do this one. Okay. So these are both E flat clarinet pegs. This one has what's called a 3-inch extension, and our whole, as Jay said earlier, our whole system is modular. So anything can be put anywhere, and including the 3-inch extensions can be put on any peg. So if you want your clarinet to be higher, you can put a 3-inch extension underneath it. And that's Delrin. It's just the same material as the Piccolo peg. Right. So we think that the E flat peg is best used on the 3-inch extension because the instrument is so short. It saves you from bending over so much. It puts it at kind of a comparable height to the clarinet. But if you want it just regular without the 3-inch extension, you can do that too. And again, black and white are available for the inserts.
Yeah, I always want my E flat raised up.
Raised up. Yeah, I like it that way too. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it makes the E flat clarinet feel more important. And you want your E flat clarinet to feel important, so it's less angry at you. Right?
That's how you're going to play your best. Yeah, you need everything you can get.
Yeah, even if it's not real, it's important.
So this is the product I'm most excited about because we made so many changes. So like I said earlier, we made some stability improvements. The old stand, the T-legs in the back didn't go as wide as the front part. So we extended them the full width of the front, which adds stability. This is also slightly thicker. The T-section has a slightly thicker width for stability. And then the old ones were octagonal, but we made it circular so that you have the most weight for the footprint. So we, filled in all those little octagonal cutouts. So that's the base. And then this new cushion is awesome. It's out of molded urethane. It's the same material as the pegs. And it has a slight incline to it so that your instrument has the weight against the incline. And then there's a rubber traction pad on here. And then we have this cool white visibility strip. This was another product where we would see people mark the front. And actually the front area on the old stands was metal. So you could hit your instrument on a piece of solid steel. So this is much better. And it's got the white visibility marking. It's also very quiet when you put your instrument down. That's the table. Right. And it's also really easy to locate visually, as well as there's a really big footprint where you can put your instrument. And then if you put your bass clarinet all the way to the front, you would hit the bell. So you'll learn that as you use it, that you don't go all the way to the front. But for bassoons, that bigger footprint is really helpful. And then because of that issue, we put this bell guard, which that was also an issue on the old stands that you could hit this. But we just thought it was a great thing to include on this stand. So the non-rotational stuff that we did, well, first of all, this now comes out. On the old stand, there was a bolt that came up from the bottom and you would screw in the upright. And if it wasn't screwed in super tight, that was one of the places where it could swing to the side. So now this comes out, which really makes it much easier to carry around if you do want to carry it somewhere. But there's a notch on the bottom, which fits onto a bolt. And if you don't put it in straight, it won't go all the way down. But as soon as you do, it settles in and then you can lock it. So it can't rotate here. And then we also have non-rotational tubing here, so it can't rotate at the top. And then at the top with the yoke, this is the part that we did full padding on this. We also made white visibility tips at the front. And then we also have this really cool rubber quick lock. So if you want to walk away from instrument and make sure it's secure, this is really fast to put on and off, but you can also have it off to the side and it won't be.
Do you see that more as like when you go on break?
Yeah.
That's not something people use like
during a show. No, but if you leave for intermission or you're doing a recording session and you want to walk away,
right.
It's just another level of security and it's very durable. The other thing we did for recording sessions is there's very little stand noise, but we know like these are such a niche product. Make sure that this is. Oh, the other thing with the rubber traction pad at the bottom is that if you want to use the bass clarinet without the peg at the bottom, it's a really nice material to put your bass clarinet on. So there's very little stand noise, but if you're in a recording session and you need there to be no stand noise, we added this secondary screw so that when you put the instrument on, there's no clicking inside from this against that. And if you don't want to use this, you don't have to. You can store it in one of these holes in the bottom of the bass. These two holes are meant for the doubler legs. You can put them on. We include hardware to attach them. And so if you're doubling and you're playing clarinet and bass clarinet and oboe and English horn or something, you can put 2 instruments on each doubler leg, and you can buy the doubler legs, either one or a set of 2. And so they can attach to either side.
From a doubling standpoint, those are unbelievable.
Yeah, they're great. And we actually changed these as well. They used to have a soldered on T leg to them. So they were a lot bulkier and they didn't look as nice either. So this is just a much smaller footprint. So these are actually much more portable than the old doubler legs used to be, but just as functional. If you have an old Blayman bass, and I saw my friend's old Blayman bass that she's had for like 20 years, and there was like no felt on the bottom anymore, and she was just still using it. Right. So now we're selling replacement felts, which have an adhesive back that you just peel off. You peel off this and it's adhesive on it. We also offer the old Piccolo peg inserts, and they come with a little felt, or our new inserts if you happen to lose yours, which we think is unlikely. But if you do, we have those as replacement parts, as well as there's a little felt cushion that also has an adhesive back on it that goes on top of the Piccolo peg. So we're trying to make everything as, we want people to use these forever. So if there's a part that you need for your stand and we don't have it, let us know and we'll see if we can make it or if we have one in stock somewhere.